Alex had never seen a planet like Leora's world. The sky was a deep violet, streaked with green and gold clouds that shimmered in constant motion. Massive floating islands drifted above the cities, casting long shadows over spires and glass towers that seemed alive with light. Humans had studied alien worlds for decades, but this place was different. The air carried a faint hum, as if the planet itself were breathing. Alex was here as a diplomat, a representative of Earth. His mission was simple in words but complex in reality: establish peaceful ties with the alien kingdom, learn about their culture, and prepare for future trade. But he had not expected to encounter the royal family, especially Princess Leora. The princess was unlike any ruler he had imagined. She had a presence that demanded attention, even though many in her court seemed to avoid her. Leora's body moved differently from the other aliens. Her legs were shorter, and her movements were slower, but there was a grace in her actions that made her hard to ignore. Despite her disability, her eyes sparkled with intelligence and curiosity, and her smile was warm, honest, and rare. The first time Alex met her, it was not in the grand halls of the palace, but in a quiet garden filled with bioluminescent plants. The aliens around the court were proud and rigid, but here, among the glowing flowers and soft streams, Leora seemed free. She was sitting on a low bench, watching a small insect-like creature crawl over a flower. When she noticed Alex approaching, she did not rise or bow formally as the court demanded. She simply looked at him with a curious expression. "You are not like the others," she said softly, her voice calm but firm. "You do not look away or act afraid of me." Alex paused, slightly startled. I do not know what you mean." Leora tilted her head, her long fingers brushing a petal. "Most of my visitors avoid me. They whisper, they look at my legs and my arms, and they leave. They say I am broken." She shrugged lightly, as if the word itself carried no weight. You do not leave." Alex considered this. "I do not see you as broken," he said carefully. "I see you as someone who has survived in a world that does not always understand her. That is strength, not weakness." Leora's eyes widened slightly and a smile curved her lips. "Strength," she repeated. "No one says that." She leaned forward, her hands clasped together. "No one comes to spend time with me. No one asks about my thoughts, my dreams, or what I like. They only see what I cannot do. Would you spend time with me?" Alex blinked. Her request was direct, almost shocking, but it was not improper. It carried no hidden agenda, no political maneuvering, just honesty. "Yes," he said. "I will spend time with you, if you wish it." For the next few days, Alex and Leora spent time together exploring the palace gardens. She showed him plants that glowed in response to touch, flowers that sang soft melodies when pressed, and trees that moved their branches to follow the sun. Leora spoke of her childhood, of lessons learned and missed, of her dreams and fears. She spoke honestly about the loneliness that weighed heavily on her heart. Alex listened. He shared stories of Earth, its oceans, mountains, deserts, and skies. He spoke of humans' failures and triumphs, of how they struggled to understand each other across cultures but always tried. Leora listened too, her eyes reflecting the shifting colors of the alien sky. "What is it like to live in a world that fears what it does not understand?" Alex asked one evening as they walked along a glowing stream. Leora considered this. "It is heavy," she said finally. "It is a weight you cannot put down no matter how far you run. The court judges you before you speak. They measure you before you act. They see a body that is different and a mind they cannot control, and they decide what you are worth." She shook her head. "It is exhausting," Alex thought carefully. "But you are here," he said. "You survived. You are still learning, still growing. That alone tells me something the court has forgotten. Worth is not in what others see, but in what you carry within yourself." Leora smiled faintly. "You understand," she whispered. "No one else does." As the days passed, Alex noticed that the other court members began to watch their interactions with thinly veiled suspicion. Rumors spread that the human diplomat was spending far too much time with the princess, that he was influencing her in ways no alien should. Some whispered that he was not suitable for anyone of royal blood. Leora did not seem to care. She had never had someone treat her with patience and respect, someone who genuinely listened. Alex helped her with small tasks she had long struggled with, not out of pity but because he respected her independence. They laughed at mistakes, marveled at the alien garden's wonders, and shared quiet conversations under the alien moons. One night, As they sat on a terrace overlooking the city, Leora spoke softly. "Do you know why I asked you to spend time with me?" Alex shook his head. "Because you wanted companionship? And because I wanted to know what it felt like to be seen," she said. Her voice was steady, but her eyes glimmered with a vulnerability that made Alex's chest tighten. To be seen not as a princess, not as a duty, not as a body that others judge, but as someone who is alive, who thinks, who feels. Alex reached out, lightly touching her hand. "I see you," he said simply. "All of you." For a long time, they sat in silence, listening to the soft hum of the alien city and the rustle of glowing leaves. It was a moment that felt timeless, a rare piece in a world that constantly judged and rejected difference. Over the next week, their bond deepened. Leora taught Alex her language's subtle nuances, shared ancient stories of her ancestors, and spoke of dreams for her kingdom that no one else cared to hear. Alex shared human knowledge, maps of distant stars, and ideas for cooperation between species that could benefit both humans and aliens. One afternoon, they were in the palace library, a vast chamber of translucent walls that shimmered with light. Leora struggled to reach a book on a high shelf. Alex stepped forward and retrieved it for her. She looked at him gratefully, but then something changed in her expression. "You do not treat me like I am fragile," she said softly. "You do not pity me. You treat me as a normal, and yet you do not let me forget who I am." Alex nodded. "Because I know that strength and weakness are not always visible. They live inside in how we face the world and how we treat others." Leora smiled faintly, leaning back in her chair. Perhaps humans are not so different from us after all." The court, however, was less forgiving. Rumors grew louder. Nobles whispered about the human diplomat spending too much time with the princess. They questioned her judgment, her future, and her ability to lead. Yet Leora ignored the gossip. For the first time in her life, she felt someone valued her for who she was, not for her disability or her title. One evening, Alex found Leora in the garden again, staring at the alien stars. "Do you ever wonder if the universe is large enough to hold us all?" she asked. "Sometimes," Alex replied. "But I think it is. It is large enough for people who see each other clearly, who understand and respect one another." Leora turned to him, eyes reflecting the starlight. "Then perhaps there is hope." "Even for me," Alex smiled. "There is always hope, Princess. Especially when we find someone who truly sees us." As they walked back to the palace, Leora paused. "I am glad I asked you," she said simply. "I have waited a long time for someone like you." Alex said nothing, only offered her a reassuring smile. He knew that words could not capture the bond that was forming. It was deeper than politics, beyond court judgment, and far stronger than superficial appearances. That night, as Alex returned to his quarters, he reflected on the events of the past days. He had come to this alien world expecting to negotiate treaties and alliances. Instead, he found something unexpected. A princess who was brave, intelligent, and courageous in ways no one had appreciated. And he realized that humanity's true strength was not in weapons or technology, but in understanding, empathy, and respect. The first part of their story ended not with a grand event or confrontation, but with quiet understanding. Under the alien sky, two beings from different worlds had found common ground. One was a princess who had long been unseen, and the other was a human who refused to judge. Together, they began to redefine what it meant to be valued, respected, and truly seen. The palace corridors buzzed with tension. Whispers followed Alex wherever he went, and the noble aliens cast glances filled with judgment and suspicion. Yet the princess seemed unbothered. Leora walked with quiet confidence, her eyes sharp and observant. She had spent her life avoiding court politics, but now with Alex by her side, she felt a new strength, someone who saw her for who she truly was. The first challenge came during the Council of Elders, a gathering of the oldest and most powerful nobles in the kingdom. They convened in a grand hall of floating crystal platforms, where each platform rose above the others and voices echoed in strange harmonics. Leora entered the hall alongside Alex, who wore the ceremonial attire of a visiting diplomat. The council members stared at the human, their expressions a mix of curiosity and disdain. "Princess Leora," one elder began, his voice sharp and cold, "it has come to our attention that you spend an unusual amount of time with the human diplomat." This raises concerns about your judgment. Is it wise to place trust in someone from another species? Someone who does not understand our ways? Leora's hands rested lightly on her cane. She did not flinch. I trust Alex, she said firmly, not because he is human, but because he listens, because he respects me, and because he sees value where others see weakness. A murmur rippled through the hall. One of the elders, a tall figure with scaled arms, leaned forward. You do not understand our customs. His presence may compromise your position, Princess. Are you willing to risk the kingdom's reputation for this relationship? Alex stepped forward. I am not here to compromise anyone, he said calmly. I am here to learn, to help, and to understand. I treat Princess Leora as she deserves, to be seen, to be respected, and to have her voice heard. That is not a risk. It is an honor. The council was silent. None expected a human to speak with such clarity and authority. Even the most skeptical nobles found themselves listening carefully, intrigued by the respect he showed. Leora's lips curved slightly. I have lived my life being judged for what I cannot do. I will not allow the court to dictate whom I trust or how I find companionship and guidance. Alex has shown me the value of patience, knowledge, and understanding, qualities I believe are more important than appearances. For the first time, the council hesitated. The elders had always valued lineage and physical perfection above all else. Yet here was a human demonstrating wisdom beyond their traditions. Slowly, some members nodded in acknowledgement, while others frowned in resistance. Over the following weeks, Alex worked closely with Leora to prepare her for public engagements. She had never been encouraged to take an active role in diplomacy, and her skills were rusty. He taught her how to negotiate trade deals, read alien political signals, and use her intelligence to guide discussions. Leora was a quick learner, and she began to shine in ways the court had never seen. One day, during a meeting with visiting dignitaries from a neighboring planet, Leora surprised everyone. The aliens had come expecting her to be shy and unsure, but she spoke confidently, articulating her thoughts and presenting creative solutions to complex problems. Alex watched from nearby, a quiet pride swelling in his chest. He knew she had grown stronger, not because of him, but because he had believed in her and given her the space to be herself. Rumors continued to spread. Some nobles feared losing influence if Leora gained more authority. Others whispered that Alex was teaching her human ways that might corrupt the kingdom. Leora paid them no mind. She had learned a truth that many in her world had not. Worth is measured by courage, wisdom and compassion, not by appearance, disability or fear. The tension reached a climax during the Festival of Stars, an annual celebration where the royal family demonstrated their achievements to the people and visiting leaders. Leora was scheduled to give a speech, and the nobles were anxious, expecting her to falter. Alex accompanied her, standing quietly behind the stage, ready to support her if needed. When she stepped onto the platform, Leora felt a surge of determination. She looked out over the crowd, seeing not only the nobles but the citizens who had long admired her quietly. She spoke of her vision for the kingdom, a place where strength was measured by action and integrity, not by who could walk fastest or fight hardest. She spoke of empathy, knowledge, and courage, emphasizing that a ruler's power came from inspiring others, not intimidating them. The audience listened, captivated. Alex's presence gave her confidence, but the words came from her own heart. By the time she finished, there was a wave of applause, not just from the citizens but from some of the council members. The skepticism in their eyes had softened, replaced by respect. After the festival, a confrontation occurred. One of the most conservative nobles, Lord Varen, approached her with a scowl. Princess, you risk everything by trusting a human. Your judgment is flawed, and your decisions may bring chaos. Leora met his gaze steadily. You judge me because you cannot see beyond your fears, she said. Alex has shown me the value of understanding, patience, and respect. Those are not weaknesses, Lord Varen. They are the qualities of a true leader. Alex stepped forward, placing a hand lightly on her shoulder. She speaks the truth. Leora has learned more in weeks than many rulers do in decades. To see worth in another is the sign of strength, not foolishness. Lord Varen looked at Alex, then at Leora, and for the first time, he hesitated. The court murmured among themselves. The human's calm confidence, combined with the princess's intelligence, made them reconsider their long-held prejudices. Slowly, Varen bowed his head. acknowledging their words. In the weeks that followed, Leora's bond with Alex became more than friendship. Though they did not speak of romance directly, a subtle trust and understanding grew between them. The citizens admired their partnership, and even some nobles began to see value in the human's perspective. Leora no longer felt alone. She had found an ally who respected her mind and heart. Their adventures extended beyond the palace. Alex helped Leora explore regions of the planet that had long been forbidden to her because of her disability. She rode alien creatures, traversed floating bridges, and witnessed phenomena that most nobles only read about. Each experience strengthened her confidence and reshaped her understanding of the world. During one expedition, they discovered an ancient ruin hidden in a forest of glowing trees. Leora examined inscriptions and artifacts with Alex's help, piecing together knowledge about her ancestors and their achievements. She realized that even in history, those who had been underestimated often shaped the future. "We are not defined by limitations," she said softly, "but by how we face them." Alex nodded. "And by how we choose to see the world and each other." One night, back in the palace, they sat on the terrace again, looking at the alien moons. Leora spoke quietly, almost to herself. "No one wanted me. No one saw value in me because I am different. And yet I have found someone who does, a human who respects and understands me. Perhaps this is how change begins, not with grand battles, but with a single act of seeing someone clearly." Alex placed a hand over hers. "Change begins when we refuse to let fear and prejudice dictate our actions. You have the courage to lead, Princess, and together, we can show the world what true respect and understanding look like." The princess smiled, a light in her eyes that had never been there before. She had spent her life hiding, doubting herself and feeling unworthy. Now, with Alex's support, she was ready to redefine her place in the kingdom. She was no longer just a princess. She was a leader, a thinker, and a force to be respected. Word of their partnership spread beyond the palace. Citizens praised the princess for her vision, her courage, and her openness to new ideas. Aliens who had doubted her abilities began to follow her example, embracing the qualities Alex had highlighted: patience, understanding, and respect for all beings. In time, the kingdom began to shift. Policies changed, accessibility improved, and the court slowly learned to value substance over appearance. Leora's disability was no longer seen as a limitation, but as a part of her identity that contributed to her wisdom and resilience. Through it all, Alex remained by her side, not as a servant or subordinate, but as a partner and friend. Their connection was deeper than politics or duty. It was built on trust, respect, and the understanding that true value lies not in what is seen, but in what is recognized and nurtured. By the end of Part 2, Leora stood at the palace balcony, looking over the city she now felt ready to lead. Alex stood beside her, silent but steadfast. The journey had been long, filled with doubt, challenges, and resistance. Yet together they had forged a bond that changed not only their lives but the kingdom itself. The story concluded not with a dramatic battle or political overthrow, but with quiet triumph. A disabled princess, once overlooked and underestimated, had found her voice and her power, guided by a human who believed in the strength of empathy, courage, and understanding. Humanity had proven its value, not through weapons or dominance, but through respect, intelligence, and the willingness to see worth in every being, regardless of appearances or limitations.